Hey guys, it's History Behind the Warrior, and welcome to the first History of episode for 2022. So, on that note, Happy New Year to each and every one of you. I hope you are all enjoying the new year, as we slowly but surely inch closer and closer to God of War Ragnarok's release date. That is when they, make it official. But before we bring on the end days of the Norse pantheon, today we will be going back in time to the original Olympus series of games and talk about an integral character to Kratos' rise against the gods, a child of Zeus, and the younger brother of Kratos, the marked child Deimos. Whilst not a part of the main trilogy of games, Deimos' inclusion in the spin-off game, God of War Ghost of Sparta, is the spark that lights the fuse for Olympus' destruction. Deimos' tale is one of tragedy, and it is a pivotal point in Kratos' journey that finally sends him off the edge. But before we begin the history of Deimos, I just want to say, guys, thank you for all of the support recently. It has been phenomenal. YouTube has been kind of a pain in the arse for the last month, so if possible, I would super appreciate it if all of you could give this video a thumbs up. With us entering the new year, YouTube kind of does its yearly reset, and for whatever reason, makes it harder for my videos to reach out to you guys. So once again, I would super appreciate the love and support if you could all give this video like a thumbs up, and hell, if you want to go that extra step and want to keep up to date with everything we do here, please don't forget to subscribe and tick that bell, as we always upload a video every Friday and Sunday. So without any further ado, let's begin, shall we? Now, Deimos originates from Sparta, and he is one of Zeus's many illegitimate children, much like his older brother Kratos. Being born to a Spartan woman, Callisto, Deimos was bound for greatness, due to his godhood and the harsh training Spartans underwent at a very young age. Born and bred for war, he was bound for glory, even bearing unique birthmarks, unlike any other mortal or god had seen. But despite his heritage, Callisto in fact sheltered the two from the truth, denying them any knowledge of who and what their father was. So together, the two brothers would train every day with spear and shield in hand. They wished to hone their skills as they completed trial after trial, but despite their close relationship, the two brothers couldn't have been any more different from each other. Whilst Kratos embodied the harsh, aggressive nature of the Spartan army, Deimos was far more compassionate in his ways. And this was something that Kratos actually shunned him for, but this was not out of spite. This was instead from a place of care, as whilst Kratos could take care of his brother, he knew that deep down, he could not be there for him all the time. So Kratos pushed his brother, hoping to harden his heart much like his own. In time, Deimos came to respect his teachings, embedding the ideology of a Spartan never lets his back hit the ground, a saying that would stick with Deimos for the rest of his life. Now, as the years passed, their lives were relatively peaceful, as they predominantly focused on surviving their training. But upwards in the heavens of Olympus, things took a turn. There was a stir amongst the gods. Their father, Zeus, had caught word from an oracle of a prophecy, one that foretold the end of Olympus at the hands of one of his children. And this child was like no other, bearing marks unlike any other. This marked child was branded as an omen by the gods, and thus, this prophecy and legend would be known as the Marked Child Prophecy. So Zeus, in a desperate attempt to avert fate, would send out his gods of war, Athena and Ares, to track down and capture whomever this child was. The duo would lay siege to all of Greece, burning villages and scorching the earth to glass. And inevitably, they were able to find Deimos. With the omen found, they would snatch him from his brother's grasps, wanting to drag him to Zeus's feet. But as they did, the older brother, Kratos, would step in, attempting to intervene and save his brother. But despite his best efforts, the young Spartan would be swatted away. So Kratos was left helpless, as he was forced to watch his young brother be carried away to Olympus. His screams and cries crackled throughout the land of Sparta as it burnt to the ground. Now ripped away from home, Deimos suffered a punishment that was worse than death itself. Eternal damnation and exile to the realm of the dead. Torn from his brother and punished for a crime that he was even yet to commit, Deimos was left to rot in an endless abyss at the hands of the god of death, Thanatos. The days felt endless, and the lengths of creativity that Thanatos went at nearly crushed the young boy's soul. But the flame within Deimos would not be snuffed so quickly, as there was still fight in him. He resisted for a long time, believing that sooner or later, his big brother would come for him and free him of the shackles of the gods. But in time, this dream, this hope, it would crumble. And as the days became weeks and these weeks became years, Deimos' hope was finally broken, and all of the care and hope he held towards his brother would slowly turn to spite and rage. Feeling like he had been abandoned, Deimos' perspective on his family started to warp, and mentally, he just snapped. With his heart and fighting spirits gone, he was no longer deemed as a threat to Olympus, and thus, the marked child prophecy was at an end. That is, so they thought. As Deimos survived the brutal torture at the hands of Thanatos, Kratos, on the mortal plane, would go on to become a general in Sparta and even have a child and wife. But whilst he seemed to have been happy on the surface, Kratos never truly forgot about his brother, and as a way to honor his memory, he would have himself be tattooed with his brother's birthmarks, wanting to fight on with his brother, metaphorically, by his side. Now, if you are familiar with the tale of Kratos, you will know that, in time, Kratos would lose his family, but eventually rise to godhood. And once Kratos had become Olympus's new god of war, he would begin to track down the echoes of his past, wanting answers that he didn't quite understand. So, on this journey, he would locate his mother Callisto and learn from her that his brother wasn't quite dead. He was lost in the world of death's domain. So with this knowledge in mind, Kratos would seek out his younger brother, hoping to bring him back home. And eventually, the Spartan is successful in finding Deimos, even freeing him of his chains. But it's here where we truly see the damage that has been done upon him. Deimos, upon seeing his brother, is sent into a fit of blind rage. He immediately attacks Kratos and chastises him for abandoning him. But before Deimos can kill Kratos, he would be ensnared by Thanatos. Realizing that the prophecy could only end with his death, he does attempt to kill the Spartan, but Kratos, unable to let another family member fall before him, intervenes and saves his brother, wishing to undo the wrong that he could not prevent so long ago. It's here where that hope inside Deimos is reignited. Seeing that his brother never truly abandoned him, the two are able to reconcile, with the duo then turning their sights towards the god of death. With blades and spear in hand, together, the brothers take on death itself, plunging their weapons deep into the abyss, and forcing Thanatos to tap into his hidden, monstrous form. Whilst the Spartans had the upper hand, they were not prepared for such a fierce battle, and Deimos, sadly, does fall and perish during this fight. This loss sends Kratos over the edge, and engulfed in his rage, he vanquishes Thanatos before recovering his brother. Deimos here would be laid to rest with his mother on the path of solitude, marking an end to the tales of Deimos. But the events that do follow from this point are ultimately because of what had happened to him. Deimos' death was the nail in the coffin for Kratos. For many long years, Kratos had simply been a pawn in a much bigger game, whether that be working under Ares, or whether that be him working under Zeus. It simply cannot be denied just how much of the gods had interfered with the life of Kratos. Whilst we most infamously know of the death of Calliope and Lysandra, it is only up until Ghost of Sparta where we truly understand just how severe the gods have damaged the family of Kratos. So this incident here is the final key that turns the lock for Kratos' vengeance and rebellion against the gods, which is why we see him leading the charge in God of War 2. The real tragedy of Deimos' character is that he was never truly the prophesized marked child. If anything, Deimos is more of a catalyst for what his brother would become. The gods played their hand, and if anything, helped make who Kratos is. So, they are the architects of their own downfall. So, this has been it for the history of Deimos. I hope you have enjoyed this episode. Whilst, yes, Deimos is a side character, I would honestly say that he is just as important to Kratos' story as Calliope and Lysandra is. It's a shame that many might not be familiar with this character, as he is allocated to a spin-off game, but I think what happens here is a pivotal point and change in Kratos' character, which is why I kind of appreciate it in God of War 3, where they actually allude to the character a little bit more, even if they don't refer to him by name. But who knows? With the Norse series being a new change of character for Kratos, and a way for Atreus to learn from his father's past, we very well could learn of the story of Deimos once more, much like how Atreus learnt of his own name at the end of the 2018 game. But who knows, as the tale of God of War Ragnarok is yet to unfold. But until then guys, this has been it for me. So now, as always, stay strong, stay well, and keep on fighting as Ragnarok comes for us all. Take care everyone, see you soon.